that the odds against the initial conditions being suitable for star formation, which you guys know without that planets could not exist, is 1 followed by 1,000 billion zeros at least. Clearly, this is not due to dumb luck and chance. He also estimates that a change in the strength of gravity or the weak force by only, you sitting down guys, by only 1 part in 10 raised to the 100th power, that would have prevented a life-permitting universe. The problem is this clearly isn't due to dumb luck or chance, because there's not just 1, 2, 5, 10 of these constants and quantities. There's about 50 of these life-permitting constants and quantities, which not only must be fine-tuned in this way if this universe is to permit life, but also the quantity is fine-tuned and their ratios to each other must also be exquisitely fine-tuned. Clearly, this is not due to dumb luck and chance, because improbability is now multiplied by improbability until you realize dumb luck and chance is not the rational reason. Well, what about a physical reason? The problem is there's also no physical reason why these constants and quantities should possess the values they do. The one-time agnostic physicist P.C.W. Davies comments, quote, he says, "Through my scientific work, I have come to believe more and more strongly that the physical universe is put together with an ingenuity so astonishing that I cannot accept it merely as a brute fact." Similarly, Fred Hoyle remarks, quote, "A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics." Robert Jastrow, the head of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies, calls this the most powerful evidence for the existence of God ever to come out of science. And so the Christian is rationally justified in believing in this evidence. And once again, the view that Christian theists have always held, that there is an intelligent designer of the universe, obviously makes much more sense than the stupid atheistic interpretation that the universe just popped into being uncaused out of nothing for no reason and no purpose, and just happened to be, by dumb luck and chance, fine-tuned for intelligent life with an incomprehensible precision and delicacy? Right. Can you see why atheism's on the decline worldwide? Let's go to the ontological argument. The ontological argument is epic. It goes like this. It is possible that a maximally great being exists. If it is possible that a maximally great being exists, then a maximally great being exists in some possible world. If a maximally great being exists in some possible world, then it exists in every possible world. 4, if a maximally great being exists in every possible world, then it exists in the actual world. 5, therefore a maximally great being exists in the actual world. 6, therefore a maximally great being exists. 7, therefore God exists. Let's go to the argument for contingency. Everything that exists has an explanation of its existence, either in the necessity of its own nature or in an external cause. If the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is God. 3, the universe exists. Now, what follows logically from these premises from 1 and 3, it logically follows that 4, the universe has an explanation of its existence. And from 2 and 4, the conclusion logically follows, therefore, the explanation of the universe existence is God. Now, we covered those arguments. We also have prophecy. There's prophecies that have come true. If you go to www.shockofgod.net, you can click prophecy and you can read about them, the odds of which they're not due to dumb luck or chance. This is another reason why Christians are rational to believe God exists. For example, Israel was prophesied to be gathered again to herself, and in 1948, this happened. This has not happened with any other nation in world history. Look at the prophecy of Isaiah 53. I challenge people to read Isaiah 53, which clearly is speaking about Jesus Christ. Evolution goes against atheism. Where are these millions upon millions of transitional fossils that we were promised? I was debating an atheist once, and he said the creationists are buying them all up and hiding them. Come on, guys, you know that's not true. Lack of proof and evidence is not evidence. We're missing millions upon millions of transitional fossils showing that atheism and this macroevolution clearly has major problems and is not true. What about ghost, demonic activity? There are people in this room, we got 50 people in this room. I bet every single one of you knows someone that has experience with demonic activity or ghosts. My dad was actually attacked by one. We have experience of this. This is not an argument for atheist naturalism. There's something more than naturalism in the world. And I met a guy and a gal in this room once, and they're a husband and wife. They do paranormal investigation in houses, and she said that she clearly does believe that these are evil. She says some of them are definitely evil. Speaking of evil, look at the evils of atheism. Atheism is responsible for over 150 million brutal murders and rapes and genocides under the evil atheist regimes of Stalin, Pol Pot, Kim Jong-il, the Khmer Rouge, and more. Steve, my opponent, would agree what those atheists did was evil. It also leads to a high rate of suicide. Atheists have one of the highest rate of suicide in the world. You don't kill yourself because you're happy. The Amazing Atheist, the #1 most subscribed to atheist agnostic, he says he's an atheist agnostic now, which means he's unsure about his atheism. Listen what he said about atheism. He said, quote, "Atheism has no answers." I believe he was right. Atheism has no objective purpose in life. Richard Dawkins said your sole purpose as an atheist, your sole purpose in life is to propagate DNA. He said there is no purpose to life. No wonder atheists are killing themselves in record numbers. You could say we should create a bumper sticker that says, "Friends don't let friends stay atheists." Near-death experiences also goes against atheism and naturalism. Documented proof and evidence of near-death experiences where people can go outside their body, see things, and hear things. Their brain didn't walk down the hospital room and go up 5 steps. Near-death experiences is empirical damage against atheist naturalism. What about mind-body dualism? When you are happy, your brain's not happy. You are happy. Guys, when you are sad, your brain's not sad. You are sad. There's a difference between your mind and your brain. You, everyone in this room, all 50 of us, you chose to come into this room. Your brain just didn't walk you in here. You're not an atheist flesh machine, like my friend Paulo said. You have a mind. This also goes against the belief that everything is just a natural world. Another problem I have with atheism, see, when I was an atheist, my atheist friends were saying it's possible for God to exist, and they were also saying it's impossible. When you read Scripture, Scripture clearly says God exists. What we hear coming out of the atheist camp is it's possible and impossible for God to exist. I would like to know from Steve, too, when he gets on the mic, does he believe it's impossible for the Christian God to exist? And if so, what's his arguments against it? Also, argument number 17, archaeological proof of the Bible. Do you know all archaeological proof shows that the Bible is true? There's never been any archaeological discovery that goes against the Bible. I believe G.K. Chesterton was right when he said if there were no God, there would be no atheist. Now, how long have I been? All right, I'm almost wrapped up. Listen, guys, in summary tonight, I presented 17 arguments on my side of the debate. If Steve wants us to believe otherwise, that God doesn't exist and that atheism is true, Steve, you must first tear down all 17 of these arguments that I presented and then in their place erect a case of your own to prove that God does not exist. Unless and until he does that, I think that theism is the more plausible worldview. And thanks for listening. All right, Steve, you're up.
Thank you, Shock. That was very impressive, and you covered a lot of ground. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can, responding to you, and also give a few of my own thoughts. I want to start with where you ended, Shock. You asked if I can offer any arguments against Christian theism and for my atheism. And this is a question that you put to atheists a lot. And to be fair, it is, especially the way you phrase it, a very difficult question to answer. And I think part of that difficulty comes in a disagreement of what atheism is. To me, as an atheist, I explain my atheism this way. My atheism is a position that it is more likely than not that gods do not exist. It is not my way of saying that God definitely does not exist. As you said, Jacques, you asked am I going to say that the existence of the Christian God is impossible? No, that is not my position. My position is not that that the God of Christianity cannot possibly exist. My position is that given the evidence that we have, given what we know or what we think we know, what we have very good reasons to think we know about how the universe works, it is not very likely that the Christian God exists. And based on that knowledge, the godless universe is the more likely universe, and therefore I call myself an atheist. Let's examine some of your arguments. I'll do the best I can to cover as many of them in my time as I can. The argument from first cause, the argument that because the universe exists, therefore it began to exist, therefore it had a cause. You and Dr. Craig, who also popularized this argument, like to cite the Big Bang. And the Big Bang model does hold that the universe as we experience it had a definite beginning. The problem is that the Big Bang model also states that prior to this beginning point,